greatest of all planners. When they damn well know, those who are fluent in Arabic, that it means to scheme to deceive, to plot to deceive. Okay? I've looked it up in various lexicons, And the issue is it's not even context specific where you could get away and say, well, a certain word in a certain language in certain context can mean to deceive, and in other contexts it might mean to powerfully persuade. Okay, fine. We can make an allowance for that. But that's not the word mucker means. And they will even argue and lie about that. This is why it's so painful talking with Muslims and unbelievers and atheists, because they don't care about lying.
Darth, you seem to have a lot of anger in you.
Do I sound angry?
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry you came to that conclusion, because I'm not. I'm just being very bold and assertive.
Yeah, it
Okay?
strikes me as like, I know you're not talking about Jews or whatever, but like it strikes me as like a Hitler type of dialogue.
Okay, listen. People are welcome to come in here, right? And to come in here and criticize me. I don't have to agree with it. But if you're going to be a complete moron teenager and give me a response like that, you're not going to be welcome in this room to disagree. So you better apologize for trolling.
I wasn't trolling, I was honest.
Goodbye. You're done. Okay.
Hey, Darth, on topic, wouldn't that make Muhammad Satan,
All right,
according to the Bible?
Hold on a second. We're going to do a daily abortion of trolls. Okay, since I'm pro-choice, but only in the case of trolls, we just did a troll abortion. Okay, since the atheists want us to be pro-choice, pro-abortion, I will agree. I will abort the atheist trolls when they outright just lie to me. Okay, you can tell me I'm wrong, whatever. Okay,
I just thought that he trolled it. That it made me wonder. I think the Bible would describe that as Satan. If there's scripture saying or text saying that Muhammad is the master deceiver, that would make him Satan.
Well. Ironically enough, it Muhammad in his blunder basically was putting him in the category of being Satan. That Allah is actually Satan, right? Because Jesus said himself, I am the way, the truth, and the life. Okay. And what is characteristic of Jesus in his eternal state is also characteristic of the Father, being only the truth. Okay. God cannot lie. Okay. God is not a man that he could lie. The Old Testament, then we have Hebrews 6, we have Titus chapter, I think it's 1, both of which God cannot lie. God cannot exude falsehood. Okay. So Jesus, thank you for mentioning it, said Satan is a murderer and he's the father of lies. Okay.
Right.
And if Allah is the greatest of all deceivers, that makes him the father of all deception. Okay?
That's awesome.
Yeah. Okay. Because if Allah is the greatest of all deceivers, and by the way, this is mentioned several times in the Quran, the funny thing is, this is such a damning implication that Muslims will actually change the English translation. Now, what you want to hear the latest gymnastics that I saw just yesterday, where they'll say, "Oh, it's where there's communication going on, where there's simply concealment."
Oh God!
I kid you not. Okay, it's just concealment, right? So they will even lie about the Arabic. It's mucker, right? I've looked it up in Arabic lexicons, right? They will lie about that. Okay. Now, granted, listen, languages are different, but sometimes words have a semantical range in a given context, and we can allow for that. But mucker does not, under any stretch of the examination in Arabic, simply only meaning to plan. It means to scheme or plot with the intent or actualizing a deception.
That's really cool. That message needs to be spread around to the Muslims.
No, they're going to, oh, no, Allah, he degraded his planners. No, Muhammad was ignorant theologically, philosophically, and he was trying to make superlative statements about Allah, like, oh yeah, well, my dad can bench press more weight than your dad. This is what he was doing, right? Here's another thing: is the name of God in the Old Testament, which is invoked more than 5,000 times, is incorporated into the name of a number of biblical persons in the Old and the New Testament. Some of these names that incorporate the Tetragrammaton, which is the name for God in the Old Testament in the Hebrew, are transliterated into the Arabic. But the Tetragrammaton, YHWH, in Hebrew, the name, God's name, not a title, but his name, is never transliterated, as far as I can tell, okay? Right? Allah is not a transliteration of Yahweh, okay? And then somebody goes, oh, well, Jesus said, Eli, Eli, on the cross. Eli comes
That's right.
from Elohim. It's derivative of Elohim. It's a shortened version referring to God. Okay. You present all of these glaring historical and theological blunders. They simply don't care. Okay. What's really behind it is this: is because they don't want to even contemplate the idea that all of the Muslims who followed Muhammad could be a part of a gigantic cult of a guy from the 7th century. Okay? If this didn't have a stranglehold on their thought that all of their ancestors, their nationality, their ethnicity that follow Muhammad, that they've all been deceived. Okay? It's painfully obvious when you compare the teaching, the doctrine of the Old and New Testament, you compare that to Islam. It's obvious that this guy was making this up. It's obvious.
Yep.
Okay? And then you read stuff like this where Muhammad, they go, oh no, he's not talking about the Trinity. He's just talking about 3 different people. I mean, it's not even laughable. It's borderline psychotic, their denial that Muhammad was addressing and condemning the doctrine of the Trinity in Surah 4, 171, in Surah 5, 72 to 75, and Surah 5, 116 to 118. It's crystal clear this is what he was talking about. Okay?
Yeah.
Now they go, oh no, Mary was included because all those bad Catholics were praying to Mary and they were committing shirk and treating her like a god. So good. So now the Christians were taking 4 gods? So was Allah and Muhammad aware of the Holy Spirit within the doctrine of the Trinity? And he also goes out of his way to mention Mary, who is not a part of the Trinity, but the Holy Spirit is conspicuously absent from these texts? Yeah, it's sad. But whenever you're dealing with people who are in religious cults, you're dealing with a very difficult problem, which is called resistance to falsification.
I think that kid just realized what he was saying was wrong. Actually, I think he just.
I mean, there are so many glaring problems with Islam. It isn't funny.
Yeah,
right? There's no plan of salvation.
I think it's the Quran.
How does Allah? How does Allah grant mercy when he's supposed to be entirely just?
Yeah, because, and then the salt water not mixing with water. What in the heck?
Justice and mercy are in conflict or antithesis with each other. And in Christianity, this problem is resolved by the incarnation, the death, burial, and resurrection of Jesus Christ, by which God declares that he takes out his wrath upon the person of Jesus Christ as a substitutionary atonement so that we can escape judgment. So God can apply justice so that he can give mercy. Now, whether or not anybody agrees with that, what you can't dispute is that the New Testament, okay, is providing a reconciliation or a resolving of the antithesis, okay, between these two opposite poles. But there is no such resolution in Islam because Muhammad was just making up as he goes along. Here's another thing: is this Jesus said to go by word of mouth, preaching the gospel, the good news of salvation, baptizing everyone in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, right? Jesus didn't tell them to go threaten people with death in order to believe in
Yeah,
him.
that's
Jesus
the
did
most
not
messed
tell
up
his
part.
father, he did not tell his followers to try to conquer the world militarily and take over nation states.
Yeah,
Okay?
there's a passage in their book that says kill them where
Yeah,
you
find the
find
Christian,
them.
find the Jew where they are, kill them. Okay? Now, in contrast, Islam was founded in the bloodthirsty, dripping hands of Muhammad, which is undeniable. The bloodletting, the blood spilling that Muhammad done. Now, somebody might say, "Well, what about the Spanish Inquisition? What about the Crusades?" Apples and oranges comparison. You are talking about a cultic denominational organization, the Church of Rome, who went run amok, who aren't really filled with believers, but they weren't representing Jesus and the apostles. This was a cultic perversion of Jesus and what the apostles taught, just like Muhammad is a cultic perversion of what Jesus and the disciples taught. Okay, and the Crusades was simply a military response to the northern invasion of the Muslim hordes, and thankfully that they succeeded. Otherwise, we'd all be bowing to Mecca 5 times a day. Anyway, it's the same old dealing with Muslims and atheists. They bicker. They don't debate. I was
I
talking
just
with a
can't
couple of
stand that there's billions of them.
I was talking with a couple of atheists this morning on Clubhouse. Same thing again. Oh, and one of the atheists who is a total blowhard. I forget what his name is. Steve something. Steve Appel or whatever. When I cornered him with a question, he completely tapped out. So we got him to this arrogant blowhard atheist who does clubhouse uh, you know rooms called Ask an Atheist, and he does a podcast. He got totally vanquished. Okay, now he'll never admit that he did, but he completely tapped out.
Oh, so he claims to be a hard atheist.
Oh, yeah. Well, listen, Steve Appel may not be an idiot in his personal life, but when it comes to the defense of atheism, he's simply retarded, right? And I'm sure that there will be recording of it up in the next day or so, or even on Tom Rabbit's channel. You can hear me dialoguing with him. And what you will notice that one of the tactics that they use, I will make a point and then I will ask a question. Okay, I usually will end with a question that is dichotomous so that they commit to yay or nay. They commit to A or not A so they can establish their position, right? Which is perfectly legitimate for me to do. And you'll notice that the strategery, to quote a George Bushism, the strategery is simply to evade the question.
Yeah.
Okay. And then when you point out you didn't answer the question, and then that when they will do is they will then lie and say, yes, I did. You just didn't like the answer. So I mean, this is the game they play because they get away with it because sometimes the moderation is so poor. They just They just lie. They debate like they're at a cafeteria table at the lunch hour at school time.
Clubhouse is all messed up because of the blocking thing. It just has it all messed up.
Well, there's a certain advantage to that because there are people who troll and who stalk. Okay, and so I can appreciate that. Right?
Well, let's say you have any kind of a VIP, like anybody popular at all, like yourself, you're pretty popular. And then you have like one guy that happens to be in a room, and then anyone who's popular at all is blocked by anybody in the room. It's just a big mess.
Well, there's no perfect
Yeah,
chat circles out there. There are advantages to Clubhouse. There are advantages to Discord. Right?
yeah.
Okay. So do we have any atheists who don't believe in God who would like to speak now and explain your atheism here? Any atheists? You see, it's getting harder and harder to deal with these people. I will admit, though, that when I'm on different platforms or different
Hello?
servers or Clubhouse, what's that, sir?
I said hello.
Okay,
You
are you an
asked. You
atheist?
asked. Yes.
Go ahead.
Um, I'm academic skeptic.
Okay, can you do
I'm
me a favor? Your
yes.
voice quality is a little echoey. Can you get closer to your mic source, please, so I can hear you more clearly?
How about this? Is this
Okay,
okay?
yeah. Okay.
Fantastic.
Do you believe that there is a supreme being that we designate that is the creator of all things that are not himself? Do you believe that?
No.
Okay, then you're an atheist. Okay.
Hmm.
Now, many atheists like to claim that atheism is a lack of belief. However, that is non-informative. Okay,
I agree.
because everybody who denies the existence of God lacks belief in God. Now, some atheists want to claim that they're just suspending judgment about the existence or non-existence of God, but that doesn't cut the mustard. Because
I agree.
all I have to do is ask the atheist, uh, uh, do you believe that all facts that you are acquainted with necessitate deriving and depending upon God? Do you believe it? And if they
I
say
believe that.
no, then by default they believe the contrary. Now they will try to deny that, but here's the way that we can show that this is false. Because that works for gold on Mars. Okay, that works for Bigfoot, but it doesn't work for God. Because everything, conceptually speaking, derives and depends upon God, or in a not God world, everything does not derive and depend upon God. So when one believes that there are facts, those facts can only exist in terms of actualities in one of two realms. Facts can only exist within the realm of derivation and dependence upon God, or without derivation and dependence upon God. Okay?
Correct.
Now, some atheists have been honest enough to admit that they do believe in the independence of facts from God until shown otherwise. Some of them lie and say, "Oh, I don't believe either," which is a lie. Okay, so there is no real neutrality toward God. There
I
is the
agree.
claim to neutrality, but that does not hold up upon examination. Okay, so how is it that you have come to believe that there is no supreme being who is the creator of all things that are not himself?
So I completely agree with everything you said. I hold the belief, right, that God does not exist. It is the belief. It's not lack of belief. Again, I wouldn't rage. I agree with you. Um, Regarding to your question, I feel like evidence sustaining the opposition or the opposing claim do not feel relevant enough to me to make me believe them.
Okay, here's the question. God, as I have previously defined him, as the supreme being and eternal creator of all things that are not himself. God does not exist because
Hello?
I'm waiting.
Oh, sorry, that was a question. Sorry, because going to be subjective. I don't think it's possible.
Say that again.
Again, from the whole beginning, I think my answer is going to be completely subjective. I don't think it's either possible or.
Well, God is not defined as a contingency. God is defined as the source of all possibility and contingency. So if you said it's not possible for God to exist, the only way that you could support that is because you know what is ultimate that's not God. Okay?
I think it's more of an axiom, but sure.
Yeah, it means that it's a fundamental belief that you've adopted without justification.
Yes.
Yeah. So when you say it's not possible, on what grounds? If you say something is or is not possible, if you tell me what is, what can be, what cannot be, I want to know what ultimately determines that. Okay? So if it's impossible for me to jump to the height of Mount Everest like Superman, you might give me a reason why it's not possible. So I want to know, why is it not possible for God to exist?
I think just my culture or my generation led me to believe that.
Okay, so that's an honest answer. So you don't have a reason to believe God does not exist.
Yes. Pretty
Okay,
much.
the overwhelming majority of atheists that I encounter say the same thing. But here's the problem. When I say, why don't you believe in God? And they'll say, well, I don't have a reason to believe in God. So they believe in the not God world. Well, what's the reason for that? Well, I don't have a reason to believe in God. Well, that is an argument to ignorance. The argument to ignorance is that a proposition is solely invoked to be true on the grounds that its negation is without a reason. Right? So if you don't have a reason for the not God world, well, then you should now be a theist by that reasoning.
Okay.
So you see, this is the convoluted reasoning of atheism. They think that here's one of the reasons why they make the mistake. I was watching a video of some weirdo critique my dichotomy, and I was just dumbfounded that he simply doesn't understand the position. Okay, when we talk about God, when we invoke God, we will either conceptualize God in terms of the creator creature distinction or not. Okay? If we're conceptualizing and talking about God as though he's some final boss, the grand poobah of the universe, who's the most powerful, the most knowledgeable, and is going to get you if you don't love him, but not in terms of the creator creature distinction, well, then you could, withhold judgment from that. But that conceptualization doesn't incorporate the creator creature distinction. In the creator creature distinction, God cannot be disassociated or disconnected from his relationship as being the origin and the necessary basis of why anything right now exists. So if you withhold positive belief in God for whatever reason, right, then you will believe that facts don't necessitate invoking God, that you can invoke facts without God. And that is a denial of the existence of God, whether one admits it, whether one realizes it or not. So saying you don't have a reason to believe in God is a fallacy. Okay? Because when you say I don't have a reason to believe in God, then you are believing in the not God world. But what's the reason for that? Oh, I don't have a reason to believe in God. That's an argument to ignorance.
Correct. Okay.
What if
Okay.
a theist comes along and says, why do you believe in God? Say, well, I don't have a reason to believe in the not God world. Is
Okay,
an
sir.
atheist going to accept that as correct reasoning?
Sir, I accept everything you said. I think you're much more logical than I was. You don't need me to say this. Okay. That being true, for example, it's almost logically there's a logical necessity to believe in God. And how would one pick one?
Oh, well, it would have to be only on the grounds that God takes the initiative to actually disclose or reveal his existence through natural and special revelation. So now the reason to believe in God is not because atheism is merely bankrupt, right? That it's irrational. The reason to believe in God is a positive case, that every fact in existence reveals God. Well, how does it reveal God? Well, the answer is a fact will be a fact and possess intelligibility if and only if it starts in the mind of God and it's instituted and secured by the mind and plan of God. Otherwise, it couldn't be a fact. Okay? A fact has a transcendental necessity. Why was the red dot removed from that individual? Who removed?
What red dot?
In Enuma, some mod in here removed the red dot when he came in. Who did
No, it
that?
was basically what happened was I was muted in another room, and when I joined the guest rooms, they can't mute you everywhere. So I joined from another guest room that I was muted in, and now I'm here. So it took off my mute.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. All right, that makes sense. Okay, so when we invoke facts, facts will either be reckoned that it has a transcendental necessity, an ultimate precondition of a mind that actually reveals itself, or one will deny that a fact requires an ultimate transcendental necessity. And if that is denied, they're going to have to defend that. So my position is facts are only facts if they have are instituted and secured by that which is ultimately transcendentally necessary. Okay, but we could only invoke that which is transcendentally necessary if it is personal, it's an agent, and it reveals itself. So when I appeal to facts that it reveals God, otherwise they couldn't be facts, nor would they possess intelligibility, because there would be no ultimate reference point or ultimate point of derivation as to why it is in existence or why it exists now or what it means. So I'm making a positive case for God revealing himself through every fact. Okay.
Okay.
Now, if somebody does not accept that, that is not a mere shrugging of the shoulders, like, oh, I'm unconvinced. The non-acceptance of what I said about the nature of facts is an implicit counterclaim that facts can be invoked as actual and intelligible without the transcendental necessity of God existing and revealing himself. Okay? So I'm making a positive case for God, and also that God has taken the initiative not only to reveal himself in creation, but through the course of human history, where he reveals progressively about himself, his properties, his attributes, and his purpose and his plan of human history, recorded infallibly without error in the Bible. Okay? Now, if somebody doesn't believe that, then they are rejecting the composite Christian worldview, which will be an implicit counterclaim, which they will have to defend. Okay? My case is that the internal content of the New Testament is true because its source is from God, and we know that it is from God because the other content in it that details where God reveals his characteristics, that if we were to deny God's properties, right, then there wouldn't be metaphysical background information to talk about facts or intelligibility. So the revelation that is in the New Testament about what God reveals about himself is revealing it's the necessary preconditions for facts and intelligibility. If somebody rejects that, then they're going to have to tell me what then are the grounds of reason and intelligibility. Good luck doing that. Okay? So I'm making a positive case for the existence of God, the Christian God, by revealing himself through natural and special revelation, and then throwing down the gauntlet that the denial thereof of what God has revealed is impossible. Now, someone will either accept that or they will not accept it. And the non-acceptance of it is the denial. Then they're going to have to explain how the denial of what God has revealed about himself is not impossible.
Okay.
So that's why you should believe in God and the God of the Bible. Because if you don't, you won't have a reason to believe in anything else. His property set, okay, his being eternal, self-contained, entirely self-conscious, always truth revealing, being a loving and redemptive God, okay? All of these are going to be required for there to be human intelligibility. And in other words, let me put it this way. These attributes are going to be required as the ultimate preconditions ontologically, without which intelligibility could not be defended. It does not mean that an atheist who doesn't believe in God, or somebody who doesn't believe in a Christian God, cannot go into Dunkin' Donuts and say, "May I have a jelly donut?" And the person says, "We're out of jelly donuts," and that he couldn't understand that quote intelligibly. What we're saying is, without the Christian God, there wouldn't be ultimate grounds for the intelligibility of anything. Okay?
Okay. I
So
understand.
this is a reductio ad absurdum. It's actually an objectively provable case. Okay. So do we have any atheists who would like to respond to my positive case for the God of Christianity?
I do again.
Go ahead.
I understood everything you said, but the thing is, in my personal experience, I've seen a lot of people.
I got to take a phone call. I'll be right back.
Okay.
No response for you.
Looking forward to.
I have literally 10 retards spamming my fucking inbox, telling me what the fuck should I say. Shut the fuck up, okay?
But that's, if you talk to Darth, that's required. Everyone wants to say something, but they can't because it's scary. No one wants to get muted, so they want you to say the dangerous thing.
They fear Darth Dawkins. His immense power, right?
What?
People are soy boys.
Cuck, where are you from?
I'm Portuguese.
See
what?
That just explains everything, right?
Yeah,
oh, okay.
European. It's over.
Oh, he's a fucking European. Fuck this guy with a piece of
exactly.
Shit.
See,
He's
now, once you're European,
you thought about not being European?
Take your opinion very seriously.
Who cares? I'm black, I'm
You might get to
Portuguese,
talk to
I'm
him
brown,
again.
I'm not white, I'm not European, I smell
Bambi,
I'm short.
Bambi, you're not European anymore. You had a very silly vote to make sure of that fact.
Wait, what?
You guys had a very silly vote to make sure you guys weren't European anymore.
No, we're still Europeans.
Nope. You're just a cute little island. Just flirts with Europe.
Are the Irish not Europeans?
I mean, the ones that participated
they're
in the vote.
human, but still.
I'm just going to ask him.
What's going on with...
What about if the
Scribbles,
the
you're ugly.
Have you asked why his wife divorced him?
We did the meme again.
So
I need atheist help, please.
Somebody's nagging Scribbles.
Right. Well, rule on Discord. If you see a woman, comment on her appearance, make it insulting.
You're saying that women exist?
Yeah, I know. Believe it or not. But if you see a woman and you smell her, just be like, "You're ugly," right? And make her want you so badly. Trust me.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Well,
right now.
keep your mouth.
Scribbles is red-pilled in face right now.
No,
I mean, are you ugly yourself?
No, they simp hard for Scribbles. There's a bunch of them that.
I usually show girls my Bionicle collection. That tends to work.
I am DMing the guy who called me ugly. I'm DMing him. I give him my Snapchat, and I'm asking him like if he'll take me out to get ice cream.
Ooh.
See, now you sound like a force in that.
Well, what type of ice cream do you mean, though? You're like...
I don't know how you people are a
That's
bunch of fucking
private.
cowards.
I'm a
You
Muslim
people are
woman. I
fucking
can't tell you all
cocks.
my secrets.
You people
Stop
are
I
it.
don't care if
fucking
you're
use
Muslim.
me.
Get out.
You people are fucking trying to use me as a fucking
Bacon
bad
ice cream.
person.
I don't know what you're saying, cock forte. I'm just saying, you know.
Yeah, it's just
you're
it's
kind
just
of
part,
mumbling.
It's just part of the experience. Like
I'm just trying to go up to the point where I'm just going to say, what about if fucking Allah reveals himself to me?
Scribbles, ask Darth if he thinks that Muhammad is
I mean, I'm gonna ask Darth if I could do a tarot reading for him. I don't care. I'm gonna get kicked out. I'm gonna ask him to do a tarot reading.
See, now you're just begging for attention, right? And we don't condone that here.
I mean,
you know what? I'm an attention-seeking whore. Get over it.
See, Scribbles, you're just ugly. All right.
Why would you beg for attention if you're ugly? Come on, just be pretty next time, okay?
I'll be. I promise. Like, look. I'm doing a face mask right now. I promise. Like, the vitamin C is gonna help me so much. I'll be so much prettier for you. Don't worry, Daddy. I got you.
When they call you
them
ugly,
to give me some mob rolls, yeah, so I can, you know.
I have a jade roller, babe. So I'm going to rub it on you.
Oh yeah. No,
that's
thanks.
right.
Why would you want to be a mod here unless it's your own room?
No, I just want to abuse people, you know.
Exactly, so you can do it within the comforts of your own room.
Sounds kind of fun, you know. Sounds kind of fun. You know,
bloody hell! Did you get a spot of tea this morning, love?
Oh, I did have some tea actually. It's really nice.
Oh.
Wow. Riveting conversation.
Tea's great, I tell you this. But yeah, it would be nice though. I would love to make my own channel and you know, talk shit to
How
people.
do you feel about Lipton tea?
Lipton? I don't know. It's nice, I guess.
Where's Darth?
Absolutely trash.
Why am I waiting?
His mum called him up for his alphabetti spaghetti.
Exactly.
No, his mom is dead, you dumbass. His fucking what's that, prostate cancer?
Oh, I heard her voice in the background.
I don't think his mom got prostate cancer, Scribbles.
No, he got prostate cancer.
Scribbles, you know, I would love you to be nice to his mother, okay? I don't know whose mother you're talking about, but you must have like you know.
Do you have a mommy kink, darling?
Sorry?
Do you have a mommy kink?
No.
Scribbles, can you stop? Right?
I just saying. I feel like every British dude has
ugly,
a thing for older women.
Man. You need to stop talking.
I don't know about that, really.
Why am I so bad at remembering people's voices? Like, I know you.
I feel like
you don't know
this
who I am.
guy. I do know
you,
who
Jeff,
you are.
Inquisitor.
No, you don't know who I am. I'm not the guy who, you know, I'm a different person.
Kanye.
Yeah, it's me, Kanye West.
It's you.
George Bush hates black people.
Kanye, it's you. Admit it.
It's me, Kanye West. You know, I'm just gonna
Kanye, North Korea. Is it you?
Yeah, it's me, Kanye West.
It's definitely you, babes.
Darth Dawkins is back, so
now stop giggling, you stupid spastic. Anyway,
all right, Mr. Fortank, you're up.
Okay, so do we have any atheists or unbelievers who would like to oppose Christian world?
Well, as I could say, Darth Dawkins, as I could say, I don't know what an atheism is. You know, I need help on that one. What is atheism? Yeah.
Yeah. If you listen to me carefully, I am a no-nonsense person.
Okay, Mr.
Not
No
without
Nonsense.
a sense of humor.
No nonsense.
But if you troll me, okay, I will ban you from this room without any hesitation, okay? So stop giving me this crap. You don't know what an atheist is, okay?
But I don't know what it is.
Okay, I'll tell you one more time. Troll me again and see what happens.
All right.
You know, damn everybody in the English. Is English your first language?
No, it's my fourth language, actually. Sorry about that.
Oh, really? Really?
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Yeah, what languages do you speak?
Let's see. Right, I speak Mexican, Italian.
Okay, goodbye. I warned you. Okay, obviously you shouldn't eat leaded paint chips when you were a child. Okay, I warned you. Okay, you troll and you're gone.
Sorry, I'm back.
Bye, Jeff. I warned you. Don't say I didn't warn you. Okay, he's now banned.
Sir, can I continue?
Yeah, I'm all for humor, but I'm not for people wasting my time. Oh, what is atheism? Like he's never heard the word. What a liar. What a piece of garbage. Can't stand people who lie. Go ahead.
You were saying how, for example, how God reveals himself to people.
Yeah, either it is the case that God has revealed himself in creation in its entirety, or it is not the case. Okay? I take the position that God has revealed himself in and through all facts. The Apostle Paul said, ever since the beginning of the creation of the world, God's eternal powers, attributes, have been clearly seen through what has been made. Well, what has been made? Well, it's all of the world of the facts around us. So all of the world of facts around us are indicative and revelatory of God, who is the ultimate and the absolute, from which all things derive and depend. But we couldn't know that it was there unless God took the initiative to reveal himself. Okay? Now, one does not have to accept what I'm saying, because the Bible says they received not a love of the truth. Okay? Their foolish hearts were darkened, and they turned and worshiped the creation. The moment you reject that each and every fact in this world indicates God by God's purpose and intent, because otherwise they couldn't be facts or intelligible, because they wouldn't be derived from anything identifiable, because what would be ultimate and not God can't reveal itself. Okay?
Mhm.
So your only alternative is to say, no, nothing in the world and by necessity indicates God. Well, good luck defending that.
Okay. Again, I understand that, but that leads to a question, which is, okay, in my personal experience, I see a lot of people saying, oh, I'm a Catholic, or I'm a Muslim, or I'm a Jew because God revealed himself to me. And these people all belong to different sects.
Right. Well, we can take a look at their own claims. Okay? So Muhammad's claim that he was a prophet of God is inconsistent with his own testimony that he's simply following in the footsteps of the Old and the New Testament. The Quran is entirely inconsistent and contradictory with the Hebrew and the Christian scriptures. Okay? The God of the Quran does not have all great-making properties like the God of the Bible does. The God of the Quran can't even remember his name that he mentioned 5,000 times in the Old Testament. The God of the Quran didn't even understand the historic doctrine of the Trinity. Muhammad thought, speaking on behalf of Allah, that the doctrine of the Trinity was a belief in Allah, Jesus, and Mary as three separate gods. That is not what the Christians taught. That is not historic Christian doctrine. Okay? But because Muslims refuse to believe that they're following a cult from the 7th century by a bloodthirsty killer, which he was, right? Then you can't change their minds. But unfortunately, their fate is sealed. And on Judgment Day, they're going to be separated from God because they refused to accept Jesus Christ's self-testimony claims, because they wanted to follow Muhammad and all the rest of the Muslims who say, oh no, Jesus did not die on the cross. Jesus predicted that he would die on the cross. And said, oh no, he didn't. The Christians, they corrupted the New Testament. Really? Where'd you get that from?
Okay, understood.
So you see, there's only basically two worldviews. There's the God world and the not God world, right?
Correct.
Now, so the not God world is just simply an indefensible, idolatrous construct, which is a figment of their imagination, for which they cannot defend with reason or logic. Yet they claim that if they had reason or logic, they would believe in God, right? But they violate their own criterion of belief. Well, we do have reason and logic. Okay, we do have a rational justification for the existence of God, and specifically the Christian God. Okay, but they don't accept it. Well, you didn't prove it. Well, okay, so when they say we didn't prove it, do they have a rebuttal that we didn't prove it? Or are they merely claim we didn't objectively prove the Christian worldview because they're unpersuaded? Because the fact that they're unpersuaded, it doesn't follow from that we did make an objective case. Now, if they want to offer a refutation or a rebuttal to the presentation of the Christian worldview, go ahead. So they say, well, you didn't prove it. Well, did you prove that I didn't prove it? How about I say, well, you didn't prove that I didn't prove it. Right?
Okay.
Because you see, what it comes down to is when I speak, I am invoking and defending directly and indirectly the Christian worldview. When somebody opposes that, okay, they're not just sitting by the sidelines and just shrugging their shoulders, just saying, "Oh, I'm unconvinced." Okay. Now, if they're claiming that they're just unconvinced, which is not the case, because the rejection of the claims of the Christian worldview is an implicit counterclaim. But let's set that aside for a moment, right? If they're just a bystander, just I'm just unconvinced. Well, then you can't say I didn't prove it. All you can just simply say is you're not persuaded. Maybe I did prove it, but you just don't accept the proof that's presented. Or if they want to say I didn't prove it, maybe they want to offer a rebuttal for the case that I made for the Christian worldview doesn't hold. Okay? Just because they say, well, I don't accept that, that doesn't mean that it doesn't hold. All you're just simply saying is I don't accept it. But behind that non-acceptance is an implicit counterclaim. But rarely do they want to defend that because they can't.
Thanks. I just have one last question. For example, I mean, in my very harmful or perhaps poor understanding of religion.
I'm having a little trouble understanding.
Sorry. The new covenant is the fulfillment of the Old Testament. So, I mean,
the new covenant is foreshadowed in the Old Testament, okay, which we refer to as the books, okay?
Okay.
Now, the 39 books in the Old Testament. The Old Covenant, to which we refer to, is the covenant between God and the nation of Israel, the 600 plus laws there, okay?
Mm-hmm.
The Old Covenant could never by itself provide eternal life. It takes the new covenant to provide a basis by which we can escape the wrath and judgment of God, okay? The Old Covenant was foreshadowing what was to come. Okay.
Okay.
So the point is this: the Christian worldview, in terms of the content of the Bible collectively, is self-attesting and self-authenticating. That is what proves it. In other words, the internal content demonstrates itself because it provides the self-identity claims that God has certain attributes without which we couldn't reason. Now, if the person says, no, that's not self-authenticating, I could just write down on the napkin, I'm the napkin God, and I have these, well, we'll go ahead. Let's compare your self-identity claims and see how that works. Right?
Okay.
So if you don't accept the collective composite self-identity claims of God through Jesus Christ, revealing his attribute set, if you don't accept that, then what you were saying then is, I don't need this self-identity as given by God, right?
Okay, yes.
Okay, so suppose somebody's in a car accident and they're injured, but they don't understand the severity of their injury, and somebody comes to their aid, a good Samaritan, and he reveals that he's a doctor. And the person says, I don't need your help. And the doctor realizes that they've been injured in such a way that they have cognitive impairment, but if he doesn't assist them, their situation is going to get vastly worse. And he says, listen, I'm a doctor, I've been to medical school, I went to this school, and he starts rattling off the characteristics to show him that he has the prerequisites, the attributes that a doctor would have, okay? Now, at a certain point, there are things that somebody who's not a doctor aren't going to be able to rattle off, right? Now, the person is going to have a choice. And this is an analogy. It doesn't prove what I'm saying. he's either going to have to take the self-identity claims and say, yeah, these self-identity claims support himself, okay? Or he'll say, no, I want external, claims, right? But then what supports those claims? At a certain point, you're going to have to come to a stopping point, and you're going to accept the authority of what somebody says on their own terms if they have the requisite properties and attributes. Now, if the person claims that the God of the Bible does not have the property set, he hasn't revealed himself, that self-disclosure doesn't in actuality reveal that God does have those properties and attributes set, and the person says, well, no, it's not self-attesting and self-authenticating, then the reasoning process that they're applying to the Bible, what self-authenticates that reasoning and that worldview?
Sir, I'm going to be honest. I think
the answer is nothing.
This is way above my understanding, and I think I'm lost.
Well, what I'm trying to show you, okay, and just keep coming back. You'll learn, okay.
Okay.
The biblical message is vastly more sophisticated than people realize. When certain people study the Bible a little bit, okay, they may overlook the ramifications and implications of even verses that just seem to be very simple. But in certain simple Bible verses, contained within there are ramifications and necessary conclusions that, without accepting that, you're going to result in a absurd worldview. Okay?
Okay.
So this is how the Bible proves itself. Okay? It's to the impossibility of the contrary. Okay. Now, what I mean by that is the Bible is it reveals itself. It demonstrates itself because of its internal contents, and to the impossibility of the contrary.
Okay.
Don't accept the world that God has revealed that you are in, his world, the Christian worldview. Then you're going to have to either sit there in silence. Anyone who's an unbeliever, you're going to have to sit there and be quiet in your defiance against God's self-disclosure, or you're going to have to step up to the plate. You're going to have to step up to the microphone and explain how your worldview provides for rationality, for truth, and for reason, by which you can reason that the Bible is not what it says it is. But that cannot be done.
Will I be immortal while just being Christian?
I didn't hear the first part.
Sorry. Will I go to heaven for just the mere fact that I'm a Christian? Or became a Christian?
You will go to heaven if and only if you repent, which means that you have a radical change of mind about who you are before God. Just like if you went to a picnic and you showed up early at your uncle's house and you drank from the fruit punch, and your uncle comes screaming out of the woods and he knocks the cup out of your hands, and you think he's crazy, and he tells you that he just pulled a rabid raccoon out of the fruit punch bowl. You now realize that you're a dead man walking. You're infected with rabies. Okay? And unless you believe that and you change your mind that you are now on the rapid road to a very painful death in 3 months, you're going to die of rabies. But just recognizing that alone won't save you from rabies. But that's the first step. You have to have a radical departure from what you thought you were a minute before you drank the fruit punch to what you are now, infected, and you are doomed in 3 months. You then go to somebody who can administer the cure, and when they administer the cure, you can be free from your fate and your doom, which is an analogy of the wrath of God that abides upon each one of us until we repent. That's what makes you a Christian. By recognizing that we're doomed, we are going to hell, we are under the wrath of God, and only by turning to Jesus Christ as our Savior will our sins be forgiven. But if somebody rejects the sacrifice of Jesus on the cross and his resurrection, there will not remain there will be no hope for them on Judgment Day. You don't have to have perfect theology. You don't have to have perfect understanding. Okay? All we have to do is come to God like trusting children, trusting their mother or their father. Okay?
Okay. And
you see, the number
where can
one
I?
reason that, well, do you have a Bible?
I can get one.
Okay. Well, if you have a phone or a tablet or a computer, you can also read it online. Read the Gospel of John. It's the 4th book in the New Testament. And read the first 5 books of Romans. Okay.
Okay. You do not advise me to read the Old Testament.
I would start with the Gospel of John. Okay. And then I would read the first 5 books of the book of Romans, which is Paul's magnum opus about what is the nature of salvation. Then after you digest that and read the Gospel of John a couple of times and the book of Romans a couple of times, that is 1 through 5 at least, okay, and you digest that, then I would start reading through the Bible.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Now, do we have any unbelievers or atheists who object to what I just explained to this young man? Do you think I am leading him astray? Anyone? Bueller? Yeah. The unbelievers and atheists have become increasingly cowardly. Anybody have any questions? Excellent. I am so happy to know you're all on my side. What a great day. We have 30 people in addition to myself and not one that disagrees. Isn't that fantastic? Well, I'll just pause for the moment and wait until somebody wants to say something or make a challenge, ask a question.
The hell happened? Everything's quiet.
Well, we're looking for people who want to challenge the Christian worldview.
I see. Seems like a pretty tall order for a Monday afternoon.
Well, it's getting increasingly difficult to find adult-minded, intelligent atheists when they can't filibuster or just bicker like little school children at the cafeteria table. I was on Clubhouse early today talking with a couple of atheists, and that's their go-to method is just to bicker. But you see, I'm learning their MO. That's why my questions that I give to them are becoming more narrow and circumspect, which removes the ability of them to a lesser degree to prevaricate and to filibuster. We had Steve Appel, who asked him a direct question when we were dialoguing on atheism, and he folded. He went out of the conversation. So that's another atheist we vanquished. But he'll be back on Clubhouse where he does, his little stupid show, Ask an Atheist, right? I mean, the guy's so silly that one minute he describes his atheism as just simply being non-committal and unpersuaded, and another minute he'll turn around and say that he believes there's no God. But when we ask him to defend that there's no God, he falls back on just a state of incredulity, which doesn't justify that there's no God. But this is pretty typical of atheists.
Do you think that Christians vote conservatively based solely on social issues rather than like the economic issues, and that's why they just vote Republican?
What?
Yeah, I'm just curious.
I'm not understanding. I'm not understanding your question.
Oh, sorry. I'm just saying, because okay, so I get it, right? So socially speaking, a lot of Christians agree that they're for some reason they're against abortion, even though the Bible, it says, if your wife is cheating on you, give her some poison water, then she can have an abortion. If the abortion works, that means she cheated on you.
Aren't you embarrassed that you're so handling that sloppily?
I don't think I am.
Yeah. We'll pull up the verse and we'll go through it. I've had atheists quote this all the time. First of all,
I'm an atheist. Oh, okay, go ahead.
Well, whether you are or not is besides the point. You're being really sloppy with the passage. So pull up the passage. I've discussed it with atheists before and unbelievers. Okay, this is not prescribing to actively give an abortion. What they were told is they were to drink this water, and God may decide to temporarily punish you by causing your offspring not to continue to live. Okay. So this is not an abortion. Okay.
But I think in their standards, an abortion because
scribbles. It's not an abortion. Okay. When you look at the passage, it's clear. So Christians are not cherry picking. Okay. When it comes to the issue of abortion.
Okay.
So do you approve of abortion?
Oh, I don't. I would never have an abortion, and I'm not for it.
Okay, you are the deciding vote on the Supreme Court, and it comes down to keeping abortion on demand. You know what I mean by that?
Keeping it available for women. Yeah, I would vote for that.
Abortion.
Your body, your choice.
Right. Okay, good. Now, well. First of all, the unborn baby is not her body. It may be in her uterus, but it's not her body. It is a completely genetic different body. Okay? Now, do you support the killing of a baby 1 minute before it's born?
Absolutely not.
Oh, okay. So do you support killing a baby 1 month before it's born?
Absolutely not.
Okay. Do you support killing a baby 3 months before it's born?
Nope. I could tell you what I support if you let me speak.
No. So I want to know, at what point in gestation does it become murder?
So I subscribe to the idea that around 21 weeks is the week of viability, and the reason why I believe that is because before then it's a mass of cells, and the reason why I say it's a mass of cells is because
what was the question that I asked you?
When it becomes murder, I think after 21 weeks, you should not get an abortion unless
at 21 weeks. Okay, let me ask you this question. This question. At least 10 weeks. Okay. You said it's a clump of cells. Can you please explain to me why? Because we could look this up right now. At 10 weeks, although small, the baby has 10 fingers, 10 toes, and a detectable heartbeat.
It's a mass of cells. So the woman herself doesn't even know she's pregnant.
Scribbles, you are a mass of cells too, Scribbles. And the baby that is 1 minute before being born is a mass of cells too. It is a clump of cells.
Yeah, no, I get that, right? So I've heard this before.
So do you realize? So do you realize from a jurisprudence point of view, that's a garbage line of reasoning?
No, but if you let me explain, get a couple more words out, please. Respectfully, sorry, but
So at what point? What is the final cutoff where it becomes, at what point in gestation does it become murder?
No, like I told you, I already told you this. It was 21 weeks, and the reason why I said before then it's a massive cells. Please start.
Yes, listen to me. At 20 weeks, and at 22 weeks, both of those gestational states are clumps of cells.
Yeah.
Let me hold on. Let me pull up. I'm gonna type into Google.
Okay. But let me just explain why, right? While you're typing into Google, let me just explain why. No. Can anyone hear me?
Yep.
No, I'm typing in.
Let me just explain. While you're typing it in, let me just explain why, because you keep interrupting me, respectfully. I say it's a clump of cells because, like, if you get a mother, right, and you pull it out, you yank out the cells, the fetus, before 21 weeks, it cannot survive viably without that.
Stop. Okay. That is another subject here. Now, I just typed in to DuckDuckGo fetus at 21 weeks. Okay, every picture that is depicting the product of conception here at 21 weeks doesn't even appear, as you say, a clump of weeks. I see an identifiable head, arms, legs, toes, eyes, nose, mouth. Now, I'm going to type into Google. Let's see what Google.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I typed in fetus at 21 weeks. Okay, every single image that I'm scrolling through on Google, every single image here that is detailing the fetus, the unborn baby at 21 weeks, has a head, arms, toes, legs. Okay,
and a beating heart,
a beating heart, a brain, the beginning of the skeletal system. So when you say that right at 22 weeks, slightly prior, that this is a clump of cells, you are completely misrepresenting the embryological development and what we can see visually.
Okay, so can I reply real quick?
Do you agree with what I just said? Or
yeah,
are
I
you
do. I do. I agree with you. I agree with you, and I'm going to respect that.
Now, your only argument left is to do an argument from viability.
Yeah. So I'm going to agree with you. So like it's the morality thing, which is why I'm not saying they're cherry picking, right? So like we can discuss things. So I have a friend of mine who's very straight and like 15 weeks is what they prefer because they think that's 21 weeks is too late. So this is all very arbitrary to me, right? It comes to like nerve endings and stuff like that. Can they feel it? And when I told to you, I think it's a massive cells because if you pull out the fetus out of the woman before then, it cannot viably live alone, right? If you pull it out at like 30 weeks or so, if you please,
hold on.
Okay.
You're talking too loud and too fast for me to understand you. Okay. You're too close to your mic source, and you're too loud.
I'm sorry.
Too loud when I turn you down. Okay.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Is that better?
Start from the beginning. It is okay to kill a baby before it reaches viability. Defend that.
Okay. So the reason why I'm saying you can pull it out the fetus, if you pull out the fetus at like let's say 15 weeks, we'll say that just arbitrary number, because it cannot viably.
No, you told me 21 weeks. Are you changing your tune now?
I'm just going to give you something that I know a friend of mine.
Let's go 20. Let's go 20 weeks. Okay. Why is it okay to kill a baby at 20 weeks of gestation?
Because it's not. There's no nerve endings. It cannot feel.
That is simply false. We have the beginnings of the nervous system. Okay. Would you like me to embarrass you again, and for me to type in, a central nervous system at 20 weeks of gestation?
Sure.
Do you really want me to do that?
I want to have an honest discussion. It's not about you embarrassing me.
No. I asked you a question. I said, are you willing to face embarrassment
Yeah,
if I type in
totally.
central nervous system 20 weeks of gestation. Do you want me to
I'll
do that?
Yeah,
Okay,
I'll do it
let me
myself
type it in.
too.
Look here. So you're saying it doesn't feel pain, and that's why it's okay to kill the baby at 20 weeks?
It's not the only reason, but it's part of it.
Oh, okay. So you're saying that there's no central nervous system that's in any stage of development.
That early on.
So there's no central nervous development whatsoever at 20 weeks?
Mm-hmm.
So there's no spinal column? There's no brain? There's no nerve roots that are developing? That doesn't even exist? There's no brain, there's no spinal column, there's no nerve pathways that go into the arms and legs?
From what I've read, they don't feel anything.
But see, now you're changing your tune.
No, I said that from the beginning.
Now what you're doing now what you're doing is you're changing your tune. You're changing the tune to now you accept that there is at least in the beginning stages, a central nervous system. It may not be as fully developed as it would be at 9 months of gestation. So now you're admitting that there is some development of a central nervous system, but it doesn't feel pain. So for example, is it okay for me to kill a newborn baby?
Sorry, that was.
If a newborn baby is unconscious and can't feel pain, is it okay to kill them?
So okay, sorry. I just need to.
How about at 8 months of gestation, the doctor injects some type of anesthesia where the baby can't feel anything? Is it okay to kill the baby then?
So no, because that wasn't my only reasoning
No. You said it's okay to kill the baby because it doesn't feel pain. Well, that means all throughout gestation you can kill babies by first anesthetizing them, and they won't feel any pain.
Okay.
So is it okay to kill them? Is it okay to kill them when they don't feel pain?
So respectfully, I didn't just say that, right? I mentioned that they do not feel pain. I never mentioned that.
Okay. So I'm confused here. You said there's no central nervous system. Then
no,
I
never said central nervous system. I said the nerve endings are not developed, so they don't feel pain. Darth, let me finish my thing. Let me finish my point, Darth.
Didn't I?
Darth, let me finish my point. All right, my love. Anyways,
okay. So it's okay to kill a baby at 20 weeks after conception because
I said multiple reasons, right? That was one of them.
I want you to start with the biggest reason.
For the biggest reason is because if you take them out of the mother's womb, they cannot viably live without that source that is the mother. They cannot live without.
Guess what? Even after a baby's born, it can't live without the mother.
No. There's formula. It can live with people who are not its mother.
You know what? You're not understanding. Okay, the mother is simply the conduit of oxygen and nutrition. The only difference is the conduit of oxygen and nutrition. By the way, do you understand that the idea of viability changes with technology? It is a bogus argument. Do you know that the Supreme Court didn't even argue that? They said that the unborn baby was a human being, but was not a person entitled to the protections of the Constitution. So could you tell me at what point of gestation does the baby become a person?
The heart starts beating at 3 or 4 weeks.
Can you tell me, Scribbles, at what point in gestation that the baby becomes a person?
When it starts, when it like the second trimester.
How old are you?
I don't know. How old do you think I am?
Well, you sound like you're like a 16 or 17-year-old.
I'm older than that.
How old are you?
I'm in my early 20s.
You're in your early 20s and you're giggling like a 14-year-old valley girl?
I don't think I'm giggling like a 4.
Are you intoxicated? Are you intoxicated right now? Are you high?
No, I'm not. I don't do that. I'm a Muslim.
Then why are you getting like a 14-year-old schoolgirl if you're a young woman?
I don't know. Maybe
Okay,
just
so yeah. Well, you know why I thought that? Because of your level of abstract reasoning and critical thinking skills. That's why I thought that. Now, I asked you a question. At what point of gestation does a baby become a person?
I told you I subscribe that after like 21 weeks. I think you should only.
Listen. Wow. You know what never ceases to amaze me, folks? I ask a clear question, and 95 times out of 100, when I'm asking people who are in opposition to my view, they give me an answer to something I didn't ask. I didn't ask you to repeat your previous statement. I said, at what point of gestation does the product of conception become a person, and before which it would not be a person?
Okay, let me think, right? When it becomes an actual person, no? I think, like, it's a person when it's born. It's a fetus up until then, right? It's just...
Listen to me carefully. At what point, focus. If you're a young woman and not some 15-year-old valley girl, listen to the question.
Right.
At what point of gestation after conception does it become a person?
When it's born.
Oh, okay. So now you're changing your tune. Okay. Because now, so it's okay to kill a non-person? So it's okay. So the baby, okay, is not a person 10 minutes before it's born?
But the thing is, Darth, you would never abort someone 10 minutes before. Like, if you're like
okay,
14.
You are an ignoramus. You are a very ignorant young woman. What you do not realize, okay, is there have been attempts, okay, in various states and at a federal level to legalize baby killing up until the moment of birth. There are places in this country, like Dr. what was his name, Tiller. They would regularly do late-term abortions. Have you not even seen the pictures of babies in garbage cans in later-term abortions that they have done?
Yeah. So
are you that ignorant?
No, I'm not. So I do know the Dr. Tiller story. He was killed.
Don't give me this crap that all the baby killing happens at 20 weeks. The fact of the matter is, you say that a baby only becomes a person till they're born. So is it, okay, should human beings only be protected by the right to life under the Constitution only if they're a person?
So, okay. Yes, because I do not think a woman should go to jail.
Okay, good.
Baby.
I didn't ask you who should go to jail. So you have now completely flip-flopped. It shows you how pathetic your reasoning is. First you say that abortion is wrong and murder after 21 weeks, but now you say it's okay to kill a baby before it's born because it's not a person.
Yeah, so I can give you a reason for that.
Okay, we're done with you. You are an ignoramus. You're ignorant, and you're flipping and you're flopping. You are just the product of your age. You've come to believe in materialism. You've come to believe in evolution, and therefore killing unborn babies is a good thing because there's too many people on the planet. I'm sure you believe there's too many people on the planet.
I don't believe that.
Oh, so then why is it okay to kill a baby a week before it's born?
I don't think you should kill a baby before a week before it's born, but I do think a mother.
You just told me you would legalize that.
No. If you let me
You
finish,
just told me it was okay. If it's not a person, it's okay to kill them.
So it would only happen in very
Which
rare
is it?
cases.
No, it's not only happened, because there are late-term abortions that have happened in the past, and they will continue to happen if the Democratic Party remains in power in perpetuity. Okay? Have you ever heard of? Listen to me. Have you ever heard of partial birth abortion?
Yeah, Darth, my love. If you let me finish.
Okay. Hey, my love. Goodbye, sunshine. You're an idiot. Okay. What an ignorant bimbo. Okay. You know what's really depraved in our society today? It's bad enough that the scumbag males who want to support baby killing, but here we have young women who support this bloodthirsty slaughter on the unborn with utterly convoluted reasoning, and she even flip-flop back and forth as to when she would draw the line of deep demarcation. Okay, where do they grow these people?
And you would think that it would be like either
we truly are in a satanic age. Okay, people are so satanic they don't even realize it, how satanic they are.
Yeah.
Hey, Darth, super quick. Kaber was messaging me, telling me that he needed you to check messages, something about him being able to talk. I don't know if he's like muted somehow incorrectly.
Let me look. Okay, well that means he would have a new account. Okay, hold on.
I don't think Kaber is usually in opposition here or trolling.
Well,
he might have he might have rejoined the server or something. Okay,
it's because he's a journeyman. Go ahead, Kaber.
Oh yeah, I just wanted to say, so much of the science has developed since the 70s that they didn't even think that children felt pain in the womb. Like they don't even make these sorts of arguments anymore because there's no argument for it. Yeah.
You know what the good news is? Is all of those men on the Supreme Court who voted to kill those babies, guess what? They're now dead, and they are waiting in a very unpleasant place. They're awaiting Judgment Day, and they are going to receive punishment that is commensurate with their crimes against humanity when they stand before God. Okay?
Amen.
What we live in, what happens is we have Satanism in the guise of materialistic atheism that has spread through Western civilization and other parts of the world, and it manifests that itself in human reasoning and behavior, such as the sexual revolution in the 60s, the belief that we're just simply less hairy, more intelligent relatives of chimpanzees, okay? And abortion is just, this is a byproduct of Darwin's theory of evolution, okay? It wasn't because people are becoming more enlightened, right? I mean, this is what they used to do in pagan civilizations. They would literally sacrifice their babies on the altars of their gods, right? I mean, just listen to the bimbo reasoning of this so-called young 20-something-year-old giggling like she's a 14-year-old.
Well, they've been brainwashed. I mean, like, these people in guest text are arguing that I'm wrong for saying, well, a woman shouldn't go sleeping around, not on birth control and having kids. Like, they don't even take that into consideration. They just take it into like, oh, we're forcing births on people. No, like, there's a thing called responsibility to not be a whore.
Just think about this. What they're advocating is the murder and the dismembering of a baby that has 2 arms, 2 legs, fingers, a head, a beating heart, a developing central nervous system, okay? Because we live in an age where atheism has become entrenched in many circles. But it's not called atheism, okay? It's just materialism, humanism.
But the scientists will zap some clay and say that they created life. You know that thing with some protein or something? And they'll go, oh, we made life. But they won't call conception life.
No, we live in an age of psychotic reasoning. We may have great advancements in terms of technology, but we actually have just crazy they're rationalizing the killing of the unborn for convenience, the ripping of their arms and legs off. They're rationalizing that some dude who has a fantasy fetish that he's a woman and insists that he's a woman. And if you disagree with that, they now call you evil. But then you ask them, what is a woman? And they can't even explain what that is. We really are living in psychotic times. Okay.
Yeah, I'm
Well,
from around Portland. They're influencing kids to be the other sex and calling them they bees.
It is beyond the belief of what is actually going on. There are people that actually want to brainwash little children to approve that if there is some dude who fantasizes that he's a woman, that they should be accepted as a woman. Okay. And there are, and you know what, in the night, see, before most of you in here were born, in the 1970s, when I was growing up as a teenager, the homosexual LGBT alphabet soup mafia was telling us we just want to be left alone. We just don't want to be persecuted. It was all a grand lie. What they want now to do is force people to conform to approve of their behavior. And if you don't, you're going to get punished. Okay, look at what's going on in Canada right now. The last time I heard, I think they passed a law that if someone tries to encourage a young person who has homosexual ideation, that if somebody tries to discourage that and retrain their mind in terms of heterosexuality, that's punishable by law now in Canada, which means they are basically outlawing Christianity when Christians come face to face with some young people that may have problems with homosexual ideation. Now it's open season on Christians, on parents or elders or pastors of a church that may try to counsel somebody that this is not God's will, that they need to suppress these evil temptations that come to their mind. Okay, so now it's punishable by fine or jail. Welcome to the wonderful world of Canada. So, do we have any unbelievers here who would like to defend atheism or agnosticism or evolution?
Well, Darth, I just want to ask a question on one point from the earlier conversation. I'm assuming you eat meat, right?
Oh yeah, I love cheeseburgers.
Oh, I mean, in that case, I guess you would probably agree with the statement that it's okay to kill non-persons. If not, you'd probably be vegan. I think it's just more of a matter of question of how much personhood we ascribe to the fetus.
God sanctioned the consumption of animals after the flood.
Oh, is that how you're grounding things? It's strictly the delineation as defined in the Bible, not related to personhood?
Well, animals are not persons; they're just biological robots.
Well, yeah, we grant them the status of living things that are non-persons, right?
Yeah. Are you opposed to eating cheeseburgers?
Of course not. They're delicious. Went to Shake Shack the other day.
Okay, good. So tell me, why are you an atheist?
Why am I an atheist? Oh, I think we've had this discussion before. I happened to follow a couple different presuppositions than you.
Okay, so
which is fine.
God does not exist because
God doesn't exist in my worldview simply because the framework that I've built for my understanding of the world doesn't require it.
That is a non-informative response.
I don't expect to disprove your position.
Okay, listen to me. That's a non-informative response. Do you believe that all the facts that you're acquainted with necessitate deriving and depending upon God as defined as supreme being and creator?
Nope. I kind of start my presuppositions at I believe that facts can be reasoned with intelligibly, such that we can use them in a useful way.
Okay. Now, so you are rejecting and denying the God world by virtue of affirming the not God world. How is God world true?
How say that again? Sorry, you got quiet for a second. I don't know if it was my audio.
We have two worldviews: the God world and the not God world.
And
okay?
I lost my headphones. I'm sorry. 1 second. Sorry, I was pulling out my headphone cord without realizing. I'm back.
That's fine. Okay, there's two worldviews: the God world and the not God world. Okay, if we're going to talk and conceptualize God and we disassociate him from his necessary relationship to all facts that are not himself, then we won't be on the same page. Okay, so when we talk about God, we're talking about the supreme being who's the creator of all things that are not himself. We will call that the God world. Then there is your worldview, which is the not God world, that there's a plurality of things, all of which universally do not necessitate deriving and depending upon God. So I will ask you, the not God world is true because?
Well, I'm making a presuppositional kind of assumption that I can do that. It's not a very
Can you do me a
satisfying answer
favor?
to you, obviously, but
that's another non-informative response.
yeah, correct.
It's non-informative.
So
God does not exist because.
If I could ask a line of questioning in response to yours, if I may.
As long as you're going to answer the question.
I think it's possible that he could. So that's my answer. I'm not.
I didn't ask you that
presupposing
question.
that
Your position.
my
right
position
now,
is no.
Your position is God does not exist.
Correct.
Since God does not exist, it's therefore not possible for him to exist.
I believe in belief revision, so there may be.
Hey, MP.
Yep.
God either necessarily exists or necessarily he does not exist. You take the position he necessarily does not exist. So I will ask you once again, God does not exist because?
I don't find the arguments for his existence convincing. I think you can make epistemic claims that are similar in nature to the ones you're trying to make now. And we end up in this absurd tailspin of different possible infinite number of presuppositional claims that you could make and you'd have to reject to have any coherent worldview. So, for example, we have a experience machine worldview and a non-experience machine worldview. We both, I think, take the presupposition that we are not in the experience machine worldview because we probably don't have the tools to be able to query whether or not we exist there. You assume that the Bible is able to supplant that.
This is rabbit trailing. Okay, so
you
answered my question. So let's clarify your response. God does not exist. The not God world is true solely on the grounds that its negation is without a reason. Is that your position?
The not God world exists. The not God world exists simply because say that again.
The not God world is a proposition. The negation of the not God world is the God world. So you are affirming.
Sure.
Hold on 1 second. I got to plug in my headset. Hold on a second. Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. We have two propositions. We have the not God world, and then we have the negation of the not God world, which is the God world. Okay? They are each the negation of the other. So you are asserting that the not God world, that proposition, is true solely on the grounds that its negation is without a reason.
Sort of.
Is that your position?
So my position is that my worldview includes prepositions, none of which include the positive assertion of God.
Stop.
Go ahead.
Listen to me.
I'm not trying to be obstructive.
I'm well accustomed to filibustering. The question was very clear and circumspect. Is it your position that the not God world is true solely on the grounds that its negation is without a reason?
No, because that would be an appeal to ignorance.
Right. Okay. So you're going to have to rephrase, because the way you phrase it constitutes an appeal to ignorance. The not God world is true because
I don't mean to rabbit trail here, but you're inserting a proposition into my worldview,
the
similar
not
to the
God world is
experience machine.
true. The not God world is true because
I'm sorry, Darth. I don't want to go any further because it's just going to be a frustrating conversation for you.
well, it's a very simple answer. You don't believe that God exists. I want you to tell me how it is that God does not exist.
My system doesn't have a compelling reason to put that forward, so I'll bow out here and let anyone else take the stage.
So your universal declaration that there is no God is without a reason?
Well, just like your assumption about the experience machine, similarly has no implicit reason other than
first of all, that is just verbal hand waving. It's look at the shiny light over here to distract away from the central issue here. Okay, now, do you have a rational basis that there is no God?
I don't think that's I can with assumptions. So like I said, I'm going to go on mute. I actually do have to leave for class in about 4 minutes.
Okay. Well, thank you for admitting another atheist admits that they have no rational basis for their atheism.
I will I will accept that I don't have rational basis for my presuppositions and some of my assumptions. Yes.
MPX, we still love you.
Yeah, and
I love you too, buddy.
That's why you need to repent, because Jesus doesn't only save you from his sins; he saves you from your incoherent worldview. If you don't believe in God, then you won't have a basis to believe anything.
Romans 1.
Okay. Now, if you tell me, no, I don't accept that, then good. If God is not the necessary precondition for the actuality and intelligibility of all facts, by virtue that he has revealed himself in creation through human history, then I want to know what is the ultimate basis for reason, truth, actuality, and intelligibility? If it's not God, what is it? The answer is nothing, because by your own criterion, you couldn't instantiate something. So atheists not only don't even have a rational case for their not Godism, they violate their own criterion of belief that they use to dismiss God when they adopt their not God worldview. How embarrassing it is to be an atheist. By the way, this applies to the professional philosopher atheists as well. They're an embarrassment too. See, every day, day in and day out, we ask the atheists, what's your case for God, right? They make no intelligent, rational case for God. And then they say, well, you didn't prove your God. And then I turn around and I deliver an objectively provable case for God. And they go, well, you didn't prove it. Well, did you prove I didn't prove it? The fact that you're unpersuaded, it doesn't follow from that I didn't prove it. Because you see, if you're a sinful human being and I present an objectively sound case for the existence of God, but you're a bitter clinger to your autonomy of reason, then you're going to react that I didn't prove it when I did, because you don't want to repent. Now, if you want to make a case, the hypothetical atheist that I'm usually referring to, if they want to make a rebuttal and show how the case I made for the existence of God doesn't stand, they can do so. But merely going, you didn't prove it, is not a rebuttal. It's nothing more than just saying, I don't accept what you're saying. Who cares if you don't accept what I'm saying? Okay? Who cares? I mean, this is the same sort of thing that most atheists say. Most atheists will not, unless pressed into a corner, assert there is no God, but they will more than happily blurt out, there's no evidence for God. But do they actually defend that? No, they do not. Now, if I turn around and say, yeah, there is evidence for God, they'll say, yeah, prove it. Well, how come when they say there's no evidence for God and I say prove it, they go, you're shifting the burden of proof. It's really pathetic to be an atheist these days, especially when we understand the biblical worldview. when we understand the Christian worldview, what God has revealed, and the implications and ramifications of what God has revealed juxtaposed to what comes out of the mouths of atheists. It's embarrassing to be an atheist and agnostic these days. Embarrassing. That's why they have to engage in verbal gymnastics, prevarication, obfuscation, bickering, right? Rabbit trailing. Remember that movie, A Few Good Men? Can't we find a few good, intelligent atheists to talk to?
No.
No. And I try to talk with them on different platforms, right? But inevitably what happens is I get shouted down. I get heckled. They engage in over-talking and bickering. Or, what's even better? Like, for example, if you listen to my most recent encounter with atheists today on Clubhouse, if it shows up somewhere, what you'll find is they don't answer questions I ask them, because I only ask questions that are germane to what comes out of their mouth. But then I ask a question that's specific to what they're saying, and then they respond by filibustering. And I wish I had a dollar bill for every single time I'm saying, you're not specifically addressing the question. You're just talking around it. I wasn't born yesterday that I know when somebody's prevaricating. It's easy to see. We even had Steve Appel, the guy who proudly, does this podcast, and he does Clubhouse rooms where it says, ask an atheist. Well, I asked an atheist today. I asked Steve Appel to give me a case for why there is no God, and he folded like a cheap lawn chair at a garage sale. He ran away like a scared Girl Scout.
Damn.
It's amazing. I'll go into other channels on this server. I'll go into other servers. And what happens is the cockroach hecklers come out because they don't want me to interact one-on-one with atheists, lest they be embarrassed. Or if that doesn't happen, then the atheists will just prevaricate. They'll bicker. They'll ignore questions putting to them. What is so difficult about answering the question, God does not exist because? Is that a hard question?
Maybe.
Why? Why is that a hard question?
Because I think I'm gonna try, because English is not my first language. So
Okay,
I think
there's under consideration.
There's a difference, because I don't know what I am. I think I'm like a theist agnostic. I believe in something, but I think I don't have the knowledge to prove it. So an atheist, I think there are atheists who say with 100% certainty that there is no God.
I don't care about them. Did you hear me? I don't care about them. I'm not talking with them right now. I'm talking to you. Now, do you believe that what makes all facts possible is a supreme being and an eternal creator?
All facts possible?
That? Yeah. Do you believe that all the facts that you know of or believe in, that they necessarily derive and depend upon God as supreme being and creator? Do you believe that?
I don't know. It's a hard question.
Wait a minute. Did I ask you if you know? Do you believe the Eiffel Tower stands in Paris?
I mean, I know. I don't know if believe is.
I didn't ask you if you know. I said, do you believe it?
I don't know if believe is the correct word.
Do you believe the Eiffel Tower stands in Paris?
But it depends.
Do you believe the Statue of Liberty is in the New York Harbor?
But I know it is there.
Do you believe that the state of Texas is a part of the United States?
But how do you define believe in that context?
This guy's allergic to answering a question.
Do you believe there are penguins at the South Pole?
But I know that.
No, I didn't ask you if you know. Did I ask you if you know?
But it's different to know and to believe.
Listen. No. The knowledge and belief it's just a matter of emphasis. Knowledge is a subset of belief. Knowledge is a term that we reserve for beliefs that we have greater warrant and justification rather than lesser warrant or justification or none at all. I'm not asking you what you know on purpose. I'm
Then
asking you, what do you believe? Do you believe there are penguins at the South Pole?
Yeah. In that context,
Okay.
yes.
Do you believe all the facts that you are acquainted with, that they necessarily derive and depend upon God ultimately as creator? Do you believe that?
No.
Good. You are an atheist, sir. Now.
No. I don't know if I.
Let me explain to you why that's the case. Okay. Now, I have some morons who listen to me and they do YouTube videos. And they think, and there one in particular that I saw called me a sophist. But these ignoramuses do not understand, because they don't take the time to listen to me, that this analysis that I'm giving comes from a transcendental perspective. If you don't take into consideration the transcendental nature of God as as conceptually the necessary precondition of all facts, but rather you just conceive of God as the final boss of the universe, who's unimaginably powerful and knowledgeable and is going to get you if you don't love him. Yeah, you could say, I do not believe that God exists, but that my not believing does not constitute the denial. You could get away with that. But when we're talking about God as the eternal creator, God is defined as the transcendental necessity of all things that are not himself. If you choose to withhold belief in that, then you will believe in facts, but that those facts do not by necessity derive and depend upon God. That is a de facto denial. It may not be an explicit denial. We might call it a de jure denial, which means it's legislated, but it's a de facto denial, because what you do believe, that is, you believe that there are facts, but the facts can be invoked without invoking God, okay? Then if that's true, then God cannot logically coexist. So what you do affirm to believe puts you in the position that God can't exist, if your belief is true.
Yeah, God can exist.
So you can deny God explicitly, but you can deny God implicitly. You can deny God explicitly, and you can deny God implicitly as well. So if you don't believe that God is the creator, meaning that all facts by necessity derive and depend upon him, then what you do believe will constitute an indirect, implicit denial of God. Okay? Because believing or not believing in God is not the same thing as believing in Bigfoot or Santa Claus or penguins at the South Pole or aliens, because none of those things are within the category of what is ultimate and transcendentally necessary for the origin and the basis of all facts. So it's over for atheists when they try to maintain that they're neutral. Oh, I'm just unconvinced. No, you're not. You believe facts can be invoked without God. And if that's true, if facts can be invoked without God, then God cannot logically coexist in that world. So what you're affirming necessarily entails the proposition that God doesn't logically coexist. So how is it that God doesn't exist, Javi?
That's the thing, because I think I believe, because you see, I see the world, and it's too difficult to me to think that it comes from nothing. So I'm in this, like in an incognita.
Here's the problem.
I don't know how to explain it.
I understand what you're saying. Now here's the problem.
Yeah.
If you believe that the world comes from something ultimate and absolute, the only way that you're going to be able to invoke that that's the case is if that which is ultimate and absolute is an agent, is a person who takes the initiative to reveal itself directly or indirectly, because if not, there's no absolute or ultimate to appeal to on rational grounds. Okay?
Yeah.
So, for example, I like to use the analogy where somebody says, well, I don't believe in God, but I believe there's something there, okay, that everything ultimately derives from a ground of all being. And then the next thing I'll say is, go to your front door. There's somebody at your door. They go, what are you talking about? Go to your front door. Why are you answering your front door? Why should I answer my front door? Because there's somebody there. Well, I don't believe that there's somebody there. Well, there's somebody there. Well, I didn't hear a knock on the door. Nobody rang the doorbell. I just looked out the window. I don't see anybody. Okay. Okay, good. So when you looked out the window, they weren't there. And then when you go away from the window, they're back there again. And they say, but there's no reason for me to believe that there's something there because there's no justification for it. There's no type of communication or revelation or indication that there's somebody at the front door. Well, the same thing is true with one's claim, well, there's something there. I just don't believe it's God. Well, for the reason that you dismiss believing in God, if you're consistent with that rationale, you will have to disbelieve that there's something there that's unidentifiable and it doesn't communicate or reveal that it's there.
That's a good analogy.
What's going on here is that the sinful human art that we are all guilty of, including myself, we want to retain our would-be autonomy of reason. That if we don't acknowledge the autonomy of the eternal mind of God as creator, then we will believe that our mind, our consciousness is autonomous, meaning it simply exists and it operates in some regular way without the necessity of deriving ultimately and depending upon God. So either the mind of God is autonomous, and if that is not accepted, then somebody will by default accept the autonomy of human reasoning. But when we examine whether or not the claim or the implicit claim to autonomous human reasoning is intelligible or defensible, the answer it is not, because there's no ultimate or metaphysical context to place your consciousness in. Likewise, anything else. So, but you see, once we confront people that autonomous reasoning, as opposed to acknowledging the autonomous mind of God as creator, when we give them that dichotomy there, right, they don't care that autonomous reasoning is incoherent and is not even defensible by their own standards. They believe in their own autonomous reasoning, which means the opposite of believing in the autonomous mind of the creator. There's no reason to believe in the autonomous reason of man. It's unjustifiable. It's indefensible. It is not rational. So then why do they cling to it? Because they don't want to repent, which means to first and foremost acknowledge God as your creator. And then they go, well, I would if I had some evidence. Good. So are you then claiming that your mind has determined that all facts do not by necessity derive from God? How'd you determine that? You see, the atheists have been getting away for decades making these empty and vapid cliches and slogans, right?
Yeah,
But
most arguments are pretty empty.
I asked a famous atheist on an AMA on Discord who had 2 earned PhDs, okay? Yeah. One in biology, the other in the philosophy of science. And he's a famous atheist debater. I said, so what's your reason to believe in the not God world? And to my shock, he said, well, I don't have a reason to believe in God. That's an appeal to ignorance. That the not God world is invoked to be true solely on the grounds that its negation is without a reason. I don't adopt theism because atheism was without a reason. I give a positive case that God has revealed himself, and I juxtapose that with the fact that atheism is irrational. It's indefensible, nor could it ever be. God would have to exist and create and control this world in order for there to be grounds for reason and truth and for affirming and denying propositions. Okay, because everything would derive and depend upon the mind of God. Now, if somebody rejects that, say, good. Tell me, without the mind of God being the eternal creator, on what metaphysical grounds you will have to affirm truth and to be able to affirm and deny propositions within an ultimate context. Well, the answer is nothing. They got nothing. They're playing poker with no matching cards, but they're pretending like they have a royal flush, and they have nothing.
No, and that's a super hard question.
Well, having dealt with atheists for over 10 years and heard every cliche and slogan imaginable, it gets easier and easier to defeat them, especially when I compare what they say, analyze it, and then compare it to what God has said about himself. It doesn't matter to me that they don't believe that God has revealed himself in the Bible. That's their problem, not mine. So I compare what God has said about himself, and I see if that holds water, and then I see if the atheist, what his self-testimony says about himself holds water. So we have God's self-testimony, and then we have the atheist self-testimony. And it turns out God wins, the atheists lose. Okay? And it's easy to demonstrate. If you don't believe that God is and that he's revealed himself in creation, through every fact, and through human history, through the prophets, recorded infallibly in the Bible, then you are not going to have a worldview, metaphysical grounds to have a reason for anything. And to prove my point, I asked the atheist firebrand, Dr. Lawrence Krauss, who has a degree in physics, right? He's a theoretical physicist and an atheist debater. He said, we don't need God. We don't need to appeal to supernatural woo-woo. We can explain everything through the laws of nature. So I called his bluff. I said, Dr. Krauss, what is it that is fundamental and ultimate that dictates each instance of what is, can be, and cannot be? You know what his answer was? I don't know. Why does it even matter? Well, when I tried to respond, he got pissed because he knew that I called his bluff. If you don't need God, that is the equivalent. When you say God isn't necessary, that is the equivalent of saying God doesn't exist. So how does he show that God doesn't exist? He didn't.
He is the guy from the book of A Universe from Nothing, right?
Yeah, and he gave an argument for atheism from nothing.
From nothing.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Lawrence
then
Krauss,
he's
atheism from nothing. Right?
Yeah.
The fact that they can claim, they make a grandiose claim. I mean, just think of the chutzpah of this guy. We can explain everything through the laws of nature. That is a steaming pile of fresh horse poop. You can explain everything? Really? You can explain everything, Dr. Krauss, through the laws of nature? Then why is it that I ask you what dictates every single state of affairs as to what it is, can be, or cannot be? What is it? He goes, I don't know. Why didn't he say the laws of nature? You see, even the professional atheists are fakes, phonies, and frauds.
Damn.
And you know what's funny?
What?
When I was talking with him, I wasn't, as aggressive as I'm sounding now, and he was now in trouble. And the person that was hosting the event decided to rescue him and ask Krauss if he no longer wanted to talk with me, and Krauss said he didn't.
That
Right?
guy is pretty angry.
Well, you can actually hear it. Just go onto YouTube, type in Darth Dawkins versus Lawrence Krauss, and you can
Let me
hear.
look.
You can listen to it, and you don't have to take my word for it. Just listen to what happened. And after I asked him that question, he was so agitated he did not want to talk to me any further. Because if you ask the right sort of questions, atheism collapses into a steaming pile of horse poop that is not substantive. It's just rhetoric.
Yeah. And an echo chamber.
So there is objective grounds to say that God exists. Now, they're going to laugh at that. So I don't care. I don't care that you didn't prove it. Say, good. Can you prove that I didn't prove it? Because you just saying, that doesn't demonstrate that I haven't made a solid objective case.
Who makes the laws of nature? Like,
are you asking me?
I was quoting you in the debate.
Yeah. Who instantiates everything? He didn't know. But if he doesn't know, then how can he say that God's not necessary? Because he's an arrogant atheist in spite of his advanced PhD. They're blinded by their pride. Once you understand the biblical worldview in terms of its philosophical implications, okay, and it's not that difficult to come to understand it. Then once you
Can you not live without God, though?
Can you live without God? I'm not sure what you mean by that. What do you mean by that?
Like atheists are without God.
Yeah, they continue to live while they deny God. Yeah, they do that. But you see, when they try to explain their world without God, it ultimately will fail. Because there's no ultimate rhyme or reason why anything is in their perspective. Atheists can count, they can go to work, they can make money, they can walk their dog, right? But if their worldview was true, then they wouldn't have a rational basis to defend any actuality or the intelligibility of anything, because there would be nothing to appeal to ground actuality and intelligibility. You know, Van Til said atheists can count, but they cannot account for their counting.
Well, how can you account that God exists?
By the only way that we could. God has to take the initiative to disclose his existence through some means, which I don't know if you were here. I explained that God reveals himself through every facet of creation. Every fact is indicative and reveals God. Okay? It reveals God because if it didn't reveal God, it couldn't be a fact. So a fact either is what it is because it starts in the mind of God, it's executed and sustained in the mind of God, and God makes it revelatory to us because God would be revealing his existence, and therefore facts have an ultimate grounding. Now, if that reasoning is unacceptable to you, then you're going to have to explain to me how you can provide for the actuality and intelligibility of a fact. If God is not the ultimate precondition for facts, then what is?
Damn.
And you know, atheists know with this line of biblical presuppositional reasoning, it's like an atomic bomb that's dropped on Hiroshima. There's no coming back from it. So what do? Do they repent? No. They just keep on filibustering, lying, prevaricating, obfuscating, bickering, okay, over-talking, heckling. You know what the real reason people are atheists is because they hate God. Now, they may not, have a internal sense of an emotional hatred, but you hate God as if you love your autonomy. If you embrace your own autonomy, which means the refusal to acknowledge the autonomy of God as creator, if you love that first, then you hate God. You know, in the Bible, there was a Hebraism that if you choose one thing over another, you love the one and you hate the other. They hate God because they first love themselves and their own autonomy. But their own autonomy is indefensible. But they don't want to give up their autonomy, even though it cannot be defended as being coherent in their worldview. So this is why they reject the objective case for God. Okay? Now, I'm going to play something for everybody in the room. And this is, let's see. This is a peek into the mind of an atheist, okay? Now, I'm going to hit the play button, and if you don't hear somebody talking in 5 seconds, let me know, because my audio software may not be working, okay? This is the real reason why they're atheists. Here we go. 4 seconds.
So what if God actually exists, sir? And what if he actually has provided everything?
Did you hear it?
Yeah, it's fine.
I just check my software here.
Yeah, we could hear it.
Okay, I was just checking because the my audio routing software was not open, but it was still operating in the background. Okay, here we go.
Sir? And what if he actually has provided everything for you? He's granted you life. He has given you health. He has given you food. He's given you the trees to write your screed against him. He's provided you royalties. It all came from him. What if that is true? Sir, would he not have been good to you?
Now, notice the question is presupposed. If it is true that God is the creator, and he's created this world, and he's put you on it, and you're living and breathing, and you're eating food, right? Has he not been good to you? Now listen to this psychotic, worse than a infantile response out of the mouth of atheist Christopher Hitchens.
No, he wouldn't, because if that were true, it would mean that I had an eternal supervising parent.
Okay, so yeah, so as though God could choose no longer to be God, where a parent can relinquish their parenting function. No, he wouldn't be good to me because I would have an eternally supervising parent.
Who would never die and let me get on with my life.
No, it's not good because it would be good if God died, but he's never dying and let me get on with his life. So God has interfered with Christopher Hitchens' life? Seems to me Christopher Hitchens lived his life as a bisexual and a drunkard. I don't see where God interfered with him, right? Right? He says, God wouldn't let me get on with my life. Gee, seems to me, up until his death a couple of years ago, Christopher Hitchens lived his life in a God-free and a carefree way. So it seems to me here Christopher Hitchens is lying.
Never let me grow up. Would keep me under surveillance.
But you have.
Oh, so God is now depicted in a caricature that he's keeping Christopher Hitchens under surveillance. So if God is God and he's omniscient, as though God could choose to not be omniscient. I mean, this is just psycho, okay? But this is the
Why does
mind of
God
a
get
famous.
to determine we exist, but why don't we get to determine our own existence? Interesting point, though.
Is that a serious question? Why does God get to determine that? Because he's the only thing that is eternal and self-contained. You're not. How could you determine your existence? How? Why does God get to determine it? I mean, really? Well, because he's the only thing that doesn't begin to exist. And in order for anything to exist other than himself, he has to bring it into existence and he has to sustain it in existence. Okay. Is that a clear enough answer for you?
Hell yeah.
Okay. We're gonna continue with the psychotic ranting of the late Christopher Hitchens. And the good news is he's no longer an atheist. He's now awaiting Judgment Day, and he fervently believes in God and wishes he could come back here and warn other people, but it's too late for him.
Supervision every minute of my life,
but you
constantly ask me to be.
It would be awful because God is constantly asking me to thank him. Really? Did God wake up Christopher Hitchens every morning and saying, "Thank me, Christopher Hitchens"? No. Has God asked us to be grateful to him? Yes. Does God knocking on Christopher Hitchens' door? Does he waking up in the dead of night saying, "Thank me, thank me, thank me, thank me"? No, he doesn't. This is more psychotic rantings of the average atheist mind. It's not that they have good reason that there's no God. They hate the idea that there is a God.
Thanking and praising him.
Yeah,
I think it would be
wasn't part of the
it would be like
scenario.
living in North Korea. I think it would be a horrible outcome.
Well,
it would be like living in North Korea, that if there was a creator, that I had, before I eat my cheeseburgers and fries, to sit there and saying, "Thank you, Lord, for this food and the life that you have given to us and the breath that I breathe." Oh, it's like living in North Korea, thanking God for my food.
Sure that God is Kim Jong-il, but what if what I said is true?
Well, ask Kim Jong-il, he has a different opinion.
So if that is the God who's made you and created you, he's allowed you to live your life, shouldn't that be a sign of kindness to you?
No, I don't want anyone's permission.
Oh, so it wouldn't be a sign of kindness, but he doesn't refute that. He just says, "I don't want anyone's permission to live my life." Now, did you notice that that's not a rebuttal? Everyone picked that up? Todd Friel, who's asking him this question, he says, "Wouldn't that be a sign of kindness to you?" He said, "No, I don't want anyone's permission to live." How is that a rebuttal to what Todd Friel said? It's not. You see, this is what atheists do. When you ask them circumspect questions, they come back with an answer that is actually not specific to the question that's asked. Gee, I wonder why they do that.
To live my life, thanks.
All righty. Well, it's not that you've been asked or that you asked him.
I think it's servile, and one is expected to constantly grovel as a result.
Now, when we have the idea of God and thanking God as creator and for his daily the common grace that keeps us alive until, our time is up, why is just simply thanking God for his temporary provision? He says that's groveling. If you read through the pages of the Bible, where does God ask us to grovel? This only exists in the psychotic mind of atheists who hate the idea that it's God. That if God says, you need to thank people when people are your benefactors, and since God is our benefactor, we should thank him. Oh no, it's constant groveling. I don't think we should be constantly groveling. This guy is psychotic.
All right, Christopher Hitchens, round 2 of What If. What if God exists? He's provided everything for you. He's kept you together by the power of his word. If that is truly God, do you believe that God, if he's provided everything for you, has rights on your life?
No.
No. God has no rights on my life. Never mind that God is creator. Never mind that God is the lawgiver. Okay? So God has no claim on your life whatsoever in any way, in spite of the fact that he's the creator and the sustainer of all that is. More psychotic responses from Christopher Hitchens.
Because?
Why should he? What gives him his right?
What gives him the right? Have you guys ever in here ever been in a dispute where somebody says something and you don't recognize their right to question you, and you say, "Where'd you get that right from? What gives you that right?" Right? Right? Suppose I'm in a shopping center, and some person comes up to me and says, let's say, "You're not wearing a mask." Yeah. Now, I do wear a mask, and I say, "Well, what gives you the right to question me? Who are you?" Right? I mean, this is how psychotic Christopher Hitchens is. Here we're talking about the creator and sustainer of all things. Okay, and by the way, a right is a prerogative to act freely that generally has a statutory basis with some sort of a enforcement mechanism that fits God to the T. Okay, right? He's the lawgiver. He's the creator. He's the statutory basis of what is and what is not, and what should or should not be. And he has the enforcement mechanism, right? So, I mean, just think about this psychotic reasoning saying, what gives God the right? Well, because right would come from some ultimate authority. And if you can't even rationally acknowledge that God would be the source of creation and the source of any actually true rights at all, if God can't have the right to be a creator and to tell you how you ought to behave, then who does? What gives Christopher Hitchens here the right to spew the bullshit that he does? By what right does he say that? I mean, this is inside the mind of a psychotic atheist. Okay,
because he owns you. He's created everything for you. He's kept you alive.
Want to be owned.
I don't want to be owned. Right? Do you see what I'm saying, folks? This is what is at the heart of atheism. They know that their autonomous reasoning is incoherent, it's indefensible, but I don't want to be owned. I don't want to acknowledge God as my creator. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, well, there's no evidence for God. Yeah, that's good. There's no evidence for God. Right? But do they ever defend that? No, they don't.
I want to be owned, and I don't recognize anyone's right to it.
I don't want to be owned, and I don't recognize God being God. I don't recognize that. Well, you do now, right? You are awaiting Judgment Day, Christopher Hitchens, and when Judgment Day comes, you will recognize that right, because every knee will bow, every single knee will bow, every tongue will confess that Jesus is Lord. You too, Christopher Hitchens, and I'll be there too, bowing my knee and with my mouth saying Jesus is Lord, and you will too. You're just openly defiant before you die, but you're not defiant anymore, are you, Christopher Hitchens?
Really?
Sound of a tantrum. And there you go.
Darth, I have a question.
In a second, there's inside the mind of a psychotic, popular, famous atheist. Go ahead, sir.
Darth, what do you have to say about what he says at 9 minutes and 31 seconds of that interview with regards to the Ten Commandments?
Where did he refer to the Ten Commandments?
So Todd asked him about obeying the Ten Commandments and how does he feel about going to hell? And Hitchens said something like, well, if you believe in the Old Testament, hell doesn't exist. Hell's not referred to in the Old Testament.
Are we talking about the same recording? Because you see, this is an interview between Todd Friel and Christopher Hitchens, and this audio is only slightly less than 3 minutes.
Okay, I'll send you it in. I'll send you the link for like the full interview. I'll send you it.
Can you send me the timestamp so I can go to it directly?
Sure. Yeah, give me a moment.
All right. All right, let me get to. All right, I'm going to play this. Excuse me.
For one of America's fastest growing game sensations. Oh, this is going to be a bust. It is What If. That's right. We're going to play an exciting episode of What If here on Wretched Radio. The game where we create a scenario for some, they would consider it to be fantastic, and then we ask them, what if it's true? Tony, who's our first contestant today on What If?
Todd, our first and last guest, has been hailed as one of the most brilliant journalists of our time, according to the London Observer. He's a contributing editor, ironically, for Vanity Fair. He was named one of the top 100 public intellectuals by Foreign Policy and Britain's Prospect. He studied in Cambridge and Oxford, and now he just hates God. He's the author of God is Not Great. He is Christopher Hitchens.
Wow, fancy that. Christopher, thanks very much for being with us, sir.
Hello.
Christopher, we're going to have you play a game show today called What If? Are you game?
Sounds all right.
All right, here's what we've got for you, sir. We are going to play a game. I'm going to create some fantastic scenarios, and then you tell me, sir, what your response would be if these things happen to be true. Ready to go?
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Here's the first one. Now, I realize for you, sir, the author of God is Not Good, that you don't believe in God, but what if...
God is not great, excuse me.
God is not great. What?
Now in paperback at fine bookstores everywhere.
Mm-hmm. So what if God actually exists?
Tell me that wasn't funny, folks. See, even Christopher Hitchens has a sense of humor. That was funny.
Sir. And what if he actually has provided everything for you? He's granted you life. He has given you health. He has given you food. He's given you the trees to write your screed against him. He's provided you royalties. It all came from him. What if that is true? Sir, would he not have been good to you?
No. He wouldn't. Because if that were true, it would mean that I had an eternal supervising parent who would never die and let me get on with my life, never let me grow up, would keep me under surveillance.
But you have, sir.
And supervision every minute of my life,
but you
and constantly ask me to be thanking and praising him.
Yeah,
I think it would be like living in North Korea. I think it would be a horrible outcome.
Well, not sure that God is...
By the way, just to let you know, I've sped this up a little bit in terms of its speed.
Kim Jong-il. But what if what I said is true?
Well, Kim Jong-il, he has a different opinion.
Uh-huh. So if that is the God who's made you and created you, he's allowed you to live your life, shouldn't that be a sign of kindness to you?
No. Oh. I don't want anyone's permission to live my life, thanks.
All righty. Well, it's not that you've been asked.
I think it's servile, and one is expected to constantly grovel as a result.
All right, Christopher Hitchens, round two of What If. What if God exists? He's provided everything for you. He's kept you together by the power of his word. If that is truly God, do you believe that God, if he's provided everything for you, has rights on your life?
No.
Because?
Why should he? What gives him this right?
Because he owns you. He's created everything for you. He's kept you alive.
I don't want to be owned, and I don't recognize anyone's right to own me.
Remember, we're playing a game of What If.
I wrote my book exactly to teach people to emancipate themselves from the man-made slavery of religion. And you're giving the perfect instance of what I mean. I don't acknowledge anyone's ownership of myself.
I know you don't acknowledge it, but what if he is God?
Suppose that I grant your premise about him having made me and even treated me well, still doesn't give anyone ownership rights. Any more than I have these for my children.
Okay, so even though he keeps you alive, he causes you to breathe, he provides you food and everything that is good, he doesn't have any rights to tell you what to do. Nothing.
Does that mean that people who are sick and poor and hungry are excused this obligation of thanking someone brokenly for owning them?
Well, that isn't a part of the game show. I'm just asking you. Let's play another round here.
No, I think the question may take the form of an answer.
All right. So here's question number 3 of our little game show called What If, with our special guest Christopher Hitchens, the author of God is Not Great, How Religion Poisons Everything, which is I hope, hyperbole. But even so.
No, it isn't. Not if it postulates that I'm someone who's owned by someone else.
All right. So
that would ruin everything for me if it were true.
Okay. So ownership is a bad thing?
Of people, yes.
Oh, okay.
It's been widely considered. I mean, I know the Bible does call for slavery as it calls for genocide, but that doesn't make it.
See, here we have more psychotic attacks upon the Bible. The Bible doesn't call for genocide. Okay, this is his incompetent misrepresentation, straw man attack upon God's commands to kill certain people groups because of their unrelenting and pervasive evil that he did not want to spread to other people groups, cultures, or nations. Okay, so this cannot be characterized as genocide. Okay, any more than the United States fighting the Germans and the Japanese, we were committing genocide upon them when we were fighting and killing them. Okay, what a moron this guy is.
Make it right.
Yeah, well, it doesn't, but we're playing what if.
It might be you, I don't know. You may take the Bible seriously for all I know.
Oh, I sure do. What if there's a judgment day, sir? Just what if? What if? I know a crazy scenario for you, but a day when God causes you to give an account for every thought, every word, every deed. How do you think you'd do on that day, sir?
Well, I would ask by what right?
That's not the question. How would you do?
Someone stops me and says, I've got a few questions for you. I say, excuse me, I'm in a hurry. Who are you to be posing these questions?
Well, what if he's God and he made you and he has the right? What if?
The question,
how would you do?
The most ancient question is still quo warranto. By what right?
Mm-hmm.
This right can't just be assumed.
All right. If it's true,
rights come from a statutory basis with an enforcement mechanism. And since God is the creator and the lawgiver, and he has an enforcement mechanism, then he possesses that right.
Remember, we're just playing a little fantasy game here.
Yes, I understand. I'm telling you what my reaction would be.
All right. So how would you, if for instance, if he ran you through the 10 Commandments, his standard of goodness and perfection, how do you think you'd measure up, sir?
Is this the part that you're referring to?
Yes.
Well, on the initial burst, which are all about his jealousy and his envy and his self-esteem and how one has to respect that.
So here again, we see this psychotic, ugly head of the snake rising of a caricature and a straw man representation of the God of the Bible. Okay. I mean, he's so incompetent to realize that when God refers to himself as a jealous God, this is a metaphor. Okay. This is an anthropomorphism to say that God being God and there are no other gods, right? He's using in human terms trying to convey his divine disposition, that he will not tolerate being displaced in the minds of those who know him to believe in other gods, especially since they don't exist, and that it is foolishness. It is spiritually destructive for people to do that. Okay, so I mean, this is the total incompetent approach, the straw man characterization of what the Bible says.
Nix on those. I don't care for those. Don't obey them and never have tried to. Don't think anyone should. Don't think anyone needs to. Same for the Sabbath. Same for the Sabbath.
You haven't done well with that.
Same for the Sabbath. I don't give a damn about the Sabbath.
Yeah.
Murder, theft, and perjury. I know. Thanks a lot. I know without being told that those are not kosher.
Mm-hmm.
Honor the father and the mother. Rather depends how they behave towards me. And there's no commandment about taking care of your children. There's no prohibition of child abuse any more than there's any prohibition of.
Oh, really? So when it says love your neighbor as yourself, that's not a prohibition against child abuse?
Well, yeah, and what about when Christ said, no one will inherit the kingdom unless you treat those children? I mean,
this is, look, this is the more I learn about this guy, the more I realize how mentally deranged he is. Now, mind you, not that he's psychotic from, a societal standpoint, but this reasoning is psychotic in the sense that it's just existing all in his head. Okay. His attacks upon the Bible don't pass the smell test. He's not accurately representing the Bible. What he's doing is he's attacking a caricature, a straw man representation of the Bible.
I don't give a damn about the Sabbath.
Yeah. Look, you know what the sad thing is? The sad thing is he knows how wrong he is now. Okay. He's in conscious existence right now, knowing what he is waiting, that he spent his whole life in defiance of attacking a caricature, a straw man representation of God. And now he's going to have to pay the piper. He's going to pay the awful price of eternal judgment and separation from God.
Slavery or genocide in the Ten Commandments. So I don't care about those either particularly.
Now here's another bugaboo. It's a complete bastardization of how the word slave is used. It means somebody who is a servant. It usually refers to people who are contractually obligated to work for somebody else for a designated period of time. Okay? They were called slaves, servants. Okay? And in fact, the Old Testament law outlaws kidnapping people and forcing them into labor. Kidnapping was punishable by death. Okay, It talks about that you can buy slaves from other countries. Yeah, you can buy people who are you can buy out the contract of somebody who's contractually obligated. Okay, and then after the 7th year of Jubilee, people were to be released from their contracts. Okay, I was talking with an unbeliever, and they said, "Oh, well, look, the slavery continues after the death of the owner to the oldest son." Yeah, just like if the owner of a sports team has a contractual ownership of sports players, it can pass on to his son if he now owns the sports franchise.
Have you made any graven images?
Coveting, I think, is a good thing because it leads to emulation and innovation. It's a spur to do better if you're jealous or envious of other people's property.
Mm-hmm.
However,
you've pretty much kept the Ten Commandments.
I don't approve. Of course, it's wrong to take the property. It's not wrong to wish you had it yourself.
Uh-huh.
And I don't, of course, approve of lumping in women with oxen and asses.
All right. So specifically, sir, have you ever taken God's name in vain?
I've never completely known, and this is only in the King James translation, which is the one I know best, quite what that means.
That you've used God's name in a low way. Instead of using a 4-letter filth word, you use the name of God to express disgust.
No, not in that way. No, I don't believe I have.
Really? GD, nothing like that has ever flown out of your mouth?
Not as a filth expression.
No, as a
well, not
expression,
instead of a filth expression.
Dragging God's name through the mud, you've substituted his name with a swear word. Have you ever had God? Did you ever put God first in your life, sir? Has he ever been number one for Christopher Hitchens?
He's been nowhere for me, as he is in point of fact.
So the first, second, and third commandments you broke, and the Sabbath you admitted to that. I'm sure you were naughty as a child, correct?
I don't admit it.
Yeah, but you were naughty as a child, correct?
Excuse me. It's not an admission, it's an assertion.
Did your parents ever get upset with you as a child, sir?
I dare say they did.
Because you were naughty, so you broke that commandment. Murder.
How do you know that's what it was for?
I'm just guessing you're like every other kid I've seen.
But that might not mean...
Wow, what a psycho Christopher Hitchens is.
That might not have made them upset.
Mm-hmm. Because
it's rather pathetic to have children and then expect them not to be naughty, don't you think?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think the expectation is that they should be
I don't know, are you father?
Yes, sir, I am. Sir, have you ever committed murder?
No.
Have you ever been angry with somebody?
Repeatedly and justifiably.
No.
Well, I should better say that I don't want to sound smug. Justifiably and unjustifiably, fairly and unfairly.
Because the Bible says
anger is very
heart.
important.
Yeah.
Anger is an emotion without which the human species couldn't do. We're on to deadly sins now.
The human species. You see how he's smuggling in his faith in Darwinism? Okay? The human species.
Are we not commandments?
Well, I would suggest that righteous anger is good, but if you've been unrighteously angry, then you are committed murder in your heart, because God examines our thoughts and our intentions and our desires.
You should have just asked me if I've committed murder in my heart. I've certainly done that.
Okay, so you've broken the commandment of thou shalt not murder. What about lusting, sir? Jesus warned that if you lust in your mind, so you've broken the commandment of adultery, correct, sir?
Well, none of your business.
All righty. So what we've basically done is determine how you'd be doing on Judgment Day. It doesn't sound like you'd measure up at all to God's 10 Commandments.
Who gives it?
Well, we're just playing a little game of what if.
Yes, I'm playing it right along with you.
All righty. So what would God do
I'm
with
glad
you,
you think
sir?
it's a game, by the way.
What would you...
Now, would anybody care to answer? What is Christopher Hitchens thinking now? Do you think he gives a shit? He does now.
You do.
By the way, for those of you who don't know, he's dead, and he's awaiting Judgment Day.
I agree with you.
What would God do with you if he found you guilty of breaking his laws? Would he send you to heaven or hell? What if?
Well, not heaven, I hope.
Mm-hmm. So what would a just God do with somebody like you?
An eternity of praise and groveling and thanksgiving would be my idea of hell.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness. This guy is bat guana crazy.
I have no idea.
All right. If it's true, if he judged you by the standard of the 10 Commandments, you'd be going to hell.
If you believe in the God of the Old Testament, not, because there's no hell mentioned in the Old Testament.
Mm-hmm.
It's only with the punishment of the dead is not specified there, as you just say.
No, but it is strongly hinted and foreshadowed that God is a righteous God. Okay, so it's strongly implied.
You know, it's only with gentle Jesus, meek and mild, that the idea of eternal torture for minor transgressions is introduced.
Mm-hmm. So
notice again, eternal torture for mild transgressions. More psychotic reasonings of an 11-year-old mind.
Speaking
I'm not
of
sure
Jesus,
you know quite what you're talking about.
So speaking of Jesus, if, sir, remember we're playing what if it's true that God exists he came to this earth, Jesus Christ, the God-man, the Savior of souls, and he took the punishment that you deserve for breaking God's moral laws. He died on a cross for you. He rose from the dead and defeated death. Let's say that it's true, sir. He died knowing that you, Christopher Hitchens, would spend all of your calories and energy on fighting against him, but he died for you anyway. Would that not be the single greatest act of kindness in the history of your life, if not in the world?
No, it would not.
How come?
Because if I'd had the power or had actually been present, I would have done everything possible to prevent a human sacrifice from being enacted, whether the person concerned wanted it or not.
So he would prevent Jesus dying on the cross and therefore consigning everyone to eternal damnation. Right? And yet Christopher Hitchens is claiming that, he wants good things for people. Amazing, isn't it? What a psychotic mind.
Yeah, but let's just say it happened.
It's barbaric, and no one has the right.
Wait a minute. Who cares what your estimation is of the cross of Jesus Christ is? Who cares? I'll just say to you, what gives you the right to make any value judgments on it? And who cares about your value judgments as to the appropriateness or non-appropriateness or rightness or wrongness? Okay? If you take the attitude, what gives God the right for this and that? What gives you the right to make a value judgment? All you're just simply saying is when you're saying it's barbaric. All you're just simply saying is, I don't like that. I wouldn't do it that way.
Right, or the duty to immolate themselves for me. I don't want it. I didn't ask for it, and I'm not bound by it.
Yeah, that's not the question, though. If it happened, would it not be an act of kindness?
No, it would be an act of extreme arrogance. It would be an act of extreme presumption, saying what I'm doing now binds someone who hasn't yet been born. Takes away my free will, takes away my autonomy. It gives me no choice in the matter.
Did you
I
hear
didn't
that?
know God presumes.
Did you hear that? He goes, it takes away my autonomy. And on that note, I have to pause this. I have to run a couple of errands. When I get back, if you guys are still here, I will play the rest of it. I'll leave it paused here. Thank you for giving me the link. I didn't realize that there was more to the interview. I guess I should have Googled it, but it's even more revealing and confirming of what a psycho of a human being he was in relation to God.
It's a gold mine.
Oh my gosh, yes. Oh my gosh.
Was this an interview?
And you know what? I will play this again and again, periodically reviewing this into the mind of a psycho-atheist. Yes?
Oh wait, Darth, what were you playing? I kind of came in just on the back end of things. What interview was it?
We were listening to the psychotic Christopher Hitchens answering questions from Todd Friel, who does Christian video, YouTube, podcast, asking him questions like, what if God exists and he made you? Would you not have any obligations to God? What if God exists and he's allowed you to live your life freely? Would not he have been good to you? And Christopher Hitchens just gave psychotic answers. If you go to Christopher Hitch Slap, one word, on YouTube, it has that video. It's under the title Christopher Hitchens vs. Todd Friel, Friel, interviews radio, We stopped on the 11-minute 21-second mark, and we're going to continue when I get back from my errand. But it's always enjoyable to listen into the psychotic Christopher Hitchens, because it's a window into the world of how many atheists actually think. It's very telling, because it's all about autonomy. Anyway, on that note, I have to go, but I'll be back.
All right. Interesting. He said it was under Christopher Hitchens, he said?
I'll send it to you.
Okay, cool. That works. Very cool. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Hello.